Hello, my name is Dylan, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a Pathfinder character. Now, this video is specifically for my Pathfinder group, but this should be able to help anyone who's wanting to create a character in the Pathfinder universe. So this first video is going to be on picking your race and other thematic things for your character.
So here are some things that you are going to need in order to make your Pathfinder character. First is a rule book or the Pathfinder website at Pathfinder OGC. This is where you're going to get all of the information on how to make your character. Next, you'll need a character sheet, either paper version or the PDF will do. You're also going to need a notepad. If you're on a computer, you can just open up some sort of text document or have another piece of paper, or you can just use the back of your Pathfinder page. You're also going to need a pencil and an eraser and some dice. Now you may end up needing some special dice other than D6. So D6 means a dice with 6 sides. That's the common dice. But you may also need some other dice, such as a 4-sided dice, 8-sided dice, 10-sided dice, 12-sided dice, and a 20-sided dice. We're going to start with picking a race. Now, for my guys, if you're a new player, I don't want you to pick any of the special races that you might find on the website. I want you to stick with the core races, which are dwarf, halfling, elf, human, gnome, half-orc, or half-elf. And the reason for this is I find that new players will find it less complicated if their options are a little more limited the first time they make a character. But if you are experienced or you're wanting to be a little more adventurous, you can pick one of the other races you might find on the website. I'm going to be making a dwarf character today, and so you're going to want to find the dwarf page either in the rulebook or on the website. Now, the first text you see on the page or the website is all thematic text, so it's all flavor for your character.
Whenever I say thematic, I'm generally referring to storytelling. One thing we have to remember when playing Pathfinder is it is primarily a storytelling game. So when you're looking at the thematic area of a race, it's giving you guidelines on the way that that race will react to certain situations. For example, the dwarves, they're considered by others to be humorless until they get to know somebody. They also have an affinity for stonework and metalwork and fancy jewels. They loathe orcs, goblins, and giants, and thus are very distrustful of half-orcs. So if there's a dwarf and a half-orc in the party, they may have conflict there. And also, they find elves, gnomes, and halflings to be too frivolous and generally not worthy of their company, but they do like humans because their industry aligns more to the dwarves' ideal. Also, if they're going to go on an adventure, they're probably going to reclaim their honor or reclaim some homeland, some ancient dwarven fortress that was taken over by goblins or giants or something.
So if you're on the website, all of this text will be at the top of the racial page. So if you click on dwarves, this will all be there. Also on this page is some suggested names for males and females of that race, and you can make your own name up also, and then just put that at the top of your character page. I've already filled out mine. Rogar is my dwarf's name. It was one of the suggested names, and I just liked it. Next, you want to, once you've chosen your race, put down dwarf under race, and also under player, put down your own name. Now, the main thing we're going to be focusing on is racial traits. Now, this is all of the hard-coded rules that are going to affect your character. So, the first thing under racial traits is generally a +2 to 2 of your stats and a -2 to another stat. In the case of dwarfs, it gets +2 to Constitution and Wisdom, but a -2 to Charisma. There are some exceptions to this, such as the half-elf and the human, who get to just add 2 to any score that they want. Now, because of the order we're making our character here, you just want to take these numbers and write them down on your notepad, like so. And then we'll get back to those in another video. The next thing is generally a size. For the core classes, the only sizes are going to be medium and small. And so you just want to take the rest of the text after that is just thematical. But you want to take medium in case of dwarves, and then go over to your character sheet, and under size, just put an M, which stands for medium. And also under gender, put either an M for male or an F for female. My character is a male, so I put an M there. Next, we're going to take a look at speed. Dwarves are special in their speed, in that they also have a special ability under their speed. But no matter what character, what race you pick, there's always going to be something in the text that says X number of feet. In this case, 20. So dwarves get to move 20 feet on their turn. And you want to put that under speed category. Each square on a Pathfinder board is supposed to represent 5 feet of space. And so if my dwarf can move 20 feet, that is 4 squares, and that's what the second number represents. Usually the fourth thing on a racial trait stat is vision. Now you don't generally need to write this down anywhere, but take note of it. Your DM might do something with that in the campaign. The rest of the stats, or special abilities, you may want to actually write these down. On the second page of your Pathfinder character sheet, you'll find this area called Special Abilities. This is where you want to write these down. Now, when you're writing these down, if you're doing it on a PDF, you can write it word for word. But if you're doing it on a paper, doing it word for word is going to take up the entire sheet very quickly. So what I like to do is simply write the name, so that if I ever have a problem with the rest of the abbreviated text, I can go back to the rules and find out exactly what it does. And then I put a hyphen to separate the name from the body of the text, and then I put an abbreviated form of what the ability does. When abbreviating, there are a couple of things you want to look at. First thing is the number that the stat is being abbreviated by. So in the case of defensive training, it's going to be +4. Alright? The second thing you want to look at is what's being modified. In this case, AC is being modified. AC represents armor class, by the way. And the third thing is when it gets modified. So it gets modified against creatures with the giant subtype. So the main thing here is against giants. So this is the information you want to put on your character page. So, under defensive training, on my character page, I have +4 AC giant subtype. Some abilities have so much text that it seems like there's no way you'd be able to abbreviate it properly. An example of this would be Stone Cunning for dwarves. Stone Cunning gives a +2 perception bonus to notice unusual stonework, such as traps and hidden doors located in stone walls or floors. They receive a check to notice such features whenever they pass within 10 feet of them, whether or not they are actively looking. So that's quite a bit of text, and would never fit on 1 or 2 lines of the special abilities section. So what you do in those cases is put down the name of the ability, and then just put down C rules. Unless, of course, you're on a PDF, in which case you have infinite amount of space and you can put the whole thing there. It's probably a good idea to try and remember as much of an ability's rules as possible if you have to write down C rules in the abbreviation, just so that you know what kind of situations you can use that ability in, and then it makes it easier to look it up when you need it. The next thing we're going to do is pick
the basics of our character. So you've already picked a name and a race, but now at the top of your Pathfinder page, you'll see hair, eyes, age, weight, height, and that sort of thing. This is pretty much all thematic, and so talk to your DM about age, weight, and height, because they do have some ways of scoring, which I'll show you in a moment. But hair and eye color is pretty much your choice. There are parameters for what are common hair colors and eye colors in the rules, but this is just what you want your character to look like.
So when determining age, weight, and height, I generally just allow my players to pick what they are, but there is a way of randomizing it, and there are limits to age, weight, and height. For instance, you can't have a human who's 700 years old. In the rulebook, we have the adulthood age of each race and also a way of randomizing your age. Now, the age of adulthood is the youngest age one of your characters can be. So if you have a dwarf, you can never have a dwarf that's younger than 40 years old. So adulthood is the equivalent of the youngest, like the minimum age of your character. And then the randomization things are for when you pick your class. You can, if you want to do randomly when you pick your class, you can come back to this and just roll the appropriate number of dice. So say my dwarf was a rogue, I would roll 3d6, so that's 3 dice with 6 sides, and then I would just add that score in years. So say I rolled 2 6s and a 1, I would then add 13 to 40, and I'd be 53 years old for a dwarf. If you want to be able to pick your own age, then you'll want to go and figure out what the maximum age of a character can be. So for dwarves, that's 250 years old. And then just pick an age between adulthood and maximum age. So for dwarves, minimum age 40, maximum age 250. Now for height and weight, this will also be on the race page for if you're online, or you'll have to find the height and weight chart in the rulebook. But those also have their own different kinds of restrictions. So they have both male and female in this one. My character is a dwarf male, so I'd find dwarf male over in this here chart. And then dwarf male's base height, so the shortest dwarves can be, is 3 foot 9 inches. And then he weighs 150 pounds as well. So the modifier is for if you want to randomize your height. So for if you want to randomize a dwarf's height, a male dwarf's height, you would have 3 feet 9 inches tall, and then you would roll 2d4 and add that in inches to your height. And then you would multiply that score by 7 and add that to 150 pounds. And so with me, I ended up rolling 2 dice with 4 sides, and I came up with a 4 and a 3, so that's 7. And so my character's height is 4 foot 4, because I'm adding 7 inches to 3 foot 9, and then his weight is 199, because I'm adding 49 to 150, and the reason I'm adding 49 is 7 times 7. Finally, you may have noticed that on top of alignment I have LG. That stands for lawful good. When choosing your alignment, you're actually choosing 2 different things. You're choosing to be lawful, neutral, or chaotic, and good, neutral, or evil. So the lawful through chaotic is how you go about doing things, and the good through evil is what things you would go about doing. So, for example, lawful characters have a code. They have rules which they follow strictly, whereas chaotic is just sort of whatever they feel at the moment. And then neutral is sort of the balance. And good characters would be the type of characters who go out of their way to help others. Neutral is not really going out of your way to help others, but not really going out of your way to hurt them either, just sort of coasting along. And then evil would be people who want to hurt others, who want to cause harm. Now, you can be a chaotic good character, and so a chaotic good character would be like a well-meaning character who's just a little bit crazy. Or and controversially, you can also be a lawful evil character. And a lawful evil would be somebody who follows the law to the letter of the law, but then does everything in his power to do bad, like to make sure that he comes out on top, and that, if possible, he's stepping on other people along the way. My dwarf here is lawful good, and the way you mark this down is you put the lawful to chaotic, so the first letter of either lawful or chaotic, and then a backslash, and then the first letter to good through evil. And that's how you mark that out.
Alright, finally you want to come up with a backstory for your character. You want to come up with how he ended up with the group, just to give him some flair and make him easier to play in the future. So talk to your DM first. Figure out, especially if you haven't played a session yet, this is a brand new campaign and a brand new character, talk to your DM, get some information on what sort of backstories would be okay, and then come up with just some reason for your character being where he is when you start playing him. For example, Rogar, my dwarf character, he used to live in a mountain, but then something happened that caused him to want to leave his home in search for redemption, and he ends up finding himself in this cave with an elf who happens to be in charge of this mercenary group. And him and this elf end up getting in a tight spot with some goblins, and by relying on each other get out of this tight spot. And then Rogar ends up joining the mercenary group because of the friendship he made with this guy. So the campaign that my character is going to be in is a mercenary group campaign. So all of the players are going to have some backstory which ends in a reason for them joining this mercenary group. So other campaigns will have other preferable backstories depending on the DM. So just talk to your DM. If you have any questions about anything, character creation or thematically, go to your DM. He generally knows. So other than that, next time we'll be talking about classes and getting through that, but this ends the video on race and thematics. So I hope you learned something. Have a good one.